Hello everyone. In this lesson we're going to look at comment statements in C#. Although this is a relatively straightforward concept, it's probably one of the more important lessons in this course to emphasize the importance of good documentation in your code. So let's go ahead and jump into the details of the different types of comments you can use in C# and when you might use them. Let's go ahead and get started. Starting with this lesson, I'm going to be utilizing a split screen display. On the left-hand side, I'll show the details from the material that's delivered with this course, and then on the right-hand side, I'll have the Google Cloud Platform console where I can easily show the details of the code and some of the problems and issues you might encounter along the way. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and look in detail at comments in C#. So why are comments important? Comments are important to be able to document your programs. There's a number of different scenarios that will be helpful if you comment your code. The first one is if you have to go back and look at a piece of code that you've done months or even years ago, you'll have a record of why you made a particular fix to a program or an assumption that you made while designing a particular piece of code. They're very helpful not just for you, but other people on your team that are likely to go back and look at your code, and you can document any unusual features or assumptions that you made when you developed the code. They're also very useful for recording bug fixes. So anything that goes wrong with your code, if you go in and have to make a fix, it's really great to put in a comment so that you can understand the assumptions and the problem that you encountered during that time. It can really save a lot of time if you're documenting things at the code level. So within C#, there are three different types of comment statements. There's a multi-line comment, a single line comment, and an XML comment. So let's go ahead and look at the details of each one of these types of comment statements. The first type of comment that we'll look at is a multi-line comment. These can be useful for removing entire sections of code from operation, or if you have a lot of documentation that you want to include in a particular area of the code, such as a header for a program. So let's go ahead and look at the first example of this here. I have a multi-line comment. Now I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste and move this over to my program over on the Google Cloud Platform. So let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and clean this up a little bit. We'll just indent it so that the code looks a little bit better there. And you'll go ahead and see that it starts with a slash and a star and then ends with a star and a slash to close this out. So let's go ahead and save this, and I'll run it just to make sure that there's no errors here. So I'll type in .NET run, and sure enough, in just a couple of seconds here, the program will compile and run again. So let me go ahead and make a small change to this. I'll change the syntax here at the end and remove that star, which should present an error. So let's go ahead and verify that. And I'll go ahead and run it again. And now you'll see that I've introduced an error into the code. So this is something that's very common when you first get started, or even after you've been programming for a while. You might forget to close it out properly. So let's go ahead and fix this back up again. I'll close off the comment properly, and we'll go ahead and run this again. And sure enough, it works properly. So let's go ahead and look at the next type of comment. The next type of comment we'll look at are XML comments. XML comments are a special type of comment in C# and they're used to create documentation. So if you embed these XML comments, there are tools that can help you produce documentation of your code after the fact. So let's go ahead and look at the syntax of the XML comments. They start with 3 slashes. So let's go ahead and we'll drop one of these XML comments into our sample code over here. And once again, I'll go ahead and clean this up a little bit so the indentation is a little bit better here. And the syntax is very simple. It just starts with the 3 slashes. So I'll go ahead and take out the previous comment just so it's a little bit clearer. And I'll go ahead and compile and run this to illustrate that everything should work okay. And it does, and we'll do the same thing that I did before. I'll change the syntax here a little bit, and I'll take out some of the slashes just to illustrate what an error situation looks like. And there we go, we have the error again. So I'll go ahead and restore this back again. and we'll go ahead and run it. Pretty simple example, but it's something that is easy to forget on the syntax. So that's the second type of comment in C#. Let's go ahead and look at the next type of comment. The last type of comment that we'll look at are single line comments. This is probably the most common syntax for comments in C#, and we'll be using them a lot in this course. In addition, I'll mark these comments with a number so that you can find a particular section of the code or the book that we've talked about this comment. So here's an example, very straightforward syntax here. It starts with 2 slashes. Let me go ahead and copy this, and I'll go ahead and drop it into our code over here just so that we can get an example of what a single line comment looks like. So here we go. We'll go ahead and the same thing with the other comments. We'll just run this to make sure everything looks good. And once again, I'll make one simple change here that shows you what an error condition will look like. I'll go ahead and rerun that. And once again, we see the same typical type of error. I'll go ahead and fix this up so that we have a good piece of code to move forward with for our next chapter. And we'll go ahead and run this one more time just to make sure that we're in good shape for moving forward for the next demonstration. It takes just a second to run, and there we go. In summary, we've looked at the details of comment statements in C#. We've looked at some of the importance of why you want to record comments and some of the scenarios around those, and the 3 different types of syntax of comments within C# and the details of those. That's really it for this lesson. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for your interest in this course. If you like the material, please click the like button. If you'd like to see more material like this, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, as I'll be putting out more videos about C# in the future. In addition, I've put a link in if you want to pick up a copy of the book on Amazon. It's available in ebook and hard copy. Thanks again, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.